belongs to. It's universal. When we talk about wisdom, which culture wisdom belongs to is universal. When we talk the nature of their mind, it never say that you have to learn the Tibetan nature of their mind, or the Indian nature of their mind, or American nature of their mind. Just nature of their mind. You are just awareness, nature of the mind. So we should always never lose the focus of our primary main intention, that is to discover the nature of their mind. And that's why the practice of meditation then become honest, clear, and then you will focus to discovering yourself, which is the main focus of the Dharma. And for that purpose, when Buddha make a statement, Buddha one statement is, do not create any unvirtue, create virtue. Subdue your neurotic mind or negative mind. That is the Dharma. There's no other Dharma than that. So it clearly points out that each person has to work with their mind, not with a culture or something like that. We can always appreciate a culture, but never to think that that is the Dharma. Then there is conflict, there is misunderstanding. The Dharma will not really take place in your heart. Dharma has to take place in your heart, not on a robe, not on a cloth. I think that's very important. Wherever you go, your mind is the Dharma. There is no other Dharma than your mind. Your compassion is the Dharma. Your wisdom is the Dharma. How you relate with the thing, that is the Dharma. Not how you wear, or not what hat do you put, or what label you have. Those have nothing to do with the essence of the Dharma. And that's what we are on Thursday. We learn meditation, directly working with your mind. Whatever the mind habits and your mental states, that's what you're working with. You're not trying to copy your partner or the next person sitting around to you. You're just dealing with your mind. Whether it's spiritual thought or non-spiritual thought, whatever, that is the material for working in the meditation practice. It doesn't require any special material that I have to think about Buddha, or I have to think about Jesus, or I have to think about, being Democrat or Republican. No. You just, whatever comes in your mind, you just to work with that. And that's who you are, and that's you. And what you need to discover is the nature of your mind, the nature of that thought, the nature of that emotion. That's what you need to discover, and that's what you need to self-liberate. You need to liberate that on the spot, because that is where your suffering comes from. Your mind is, when you don't realize the nature of their mind, that's where we get confused, that's where we feel conflict, and that's where we feel trapped. And to free that trap is the main point of the practice of meditation, in other words. So maybe I should keep it simple, not talk too much. Talking too much makes complications sometimes. So now, earlier I explained how you work with your mind. We work with our mind, either we try to let go, and we can say renounce that. We all try to do that. Actually, we are trying to do that in our daily life situation. Certain things, I have enough of it. I'm just through. So you don't want to get back into it. That's kind of like renunciation. Kind of, not renunciation, but kind of. Because the true renunciation is that you truly see the nature of samsara, how your habits and how your mind habits are, how it functions, conditioned, how the mind is conditioned. And it's keep inviting the same situation which brings suffering into your life. And when you truly see that, and the root cause of that is your ego, and the ego brings traditionally, the ego comes from ignorance, and then comes aggression, and comes attachment. It is not possible to have ego and not to have aggression and attachment. It is not possible. If there is ego, there is attachment, and then there is aggression, aversion, and attachment. They comes together, all these three. So now, then the question will come, does ego really exist? Or does ego doesn't exist? And then a lot of teachings are introduced in the Dharma, from the Hinayana path to Mahayana path. All the reasons and all the discovery that ego actually doesn't exist. Then if ego doesn't exist, how can we feel that sense of pride, ego, like that? And that is according to the teaching. And there's knowledge of hearing and knowledge of introspection and knowledge of actual, which is called knowledge coming through meditation. First, we need to hear the Dharma, otherwise, even the Dharma nature is within you. For example, if you don't know A, B, C, D, that doesn't mean that you will never know A, B, C, D, because there is A, B, C, D exists. But when you didn't know, perhaps as someone coming from Tibet or some other part of the world who doesn't speak English, doesn't mean ABCD never existed. The potential to overcome the ignorance of not knowing ABCD is there because ABCD is there. Same thing, when our mind is ignorant of not knowing ego doesn't exist, then we need to study. So first we need to get the material, which is like study. Hearing is called the knowledge of hearing. Then secondly is to introspect and analyze and investigate, does ego actually exist or not? And thirdly is to put into practice, called knowledge coming through action, which is meditation. Knowledge of hearing, knowledge of introspection, knowledge of meditation. So the most profound is the knowledge of meditation. Then you get actual experience from that. If you just leave on knowledge of hearing, it's not good enough because it doesn't give you the entire confidence. Knowledge of introspection gives you more confidence. And then actual knowledge of knowing, the meditation knowledge, then you see very clearly in your mind. So that is a step how you learn Dharma. Very, very important how you learn Dharma. Anything in life, I think we can say, if you want to be engineer, first you have to go to school, then go to college, then university, then you introspect, and then you have experience field work. Field work. Field work is like practice of meditation. Then you actually see. Now, everything has is learning, introspection, and actual experience. And same thing in the Dharma, first hearing, introspection, and then actual experience. Therefore, study books, sharing, discussions are very, very helpful to learn Dharma. You can do it yourself, but sometimes if you attend like group of people discussion, each person idea is very, very helpful to introspect. So now why? So then when we look about, I just want to talk a little bit about ego. Now when we have this notion of sense of I, that's what ego is about. I. Someone calls your name, instantly you react, I. There's nothing wrong in reaction. Because reaction, there would be a different way how each person's reaction. To say that you have no reaction at all, you should be a dumb person. If I say, Marsha, like nothing happening, perhaps you're intoxicated, or you took a drug, or you drank so much, or you're just stupid, you don't even know who. That wouldn't be the right thing. So, if I say, Marsha, yes, here I am. But the problem is not Marsha. The problem is we just do something, a sense of identity we are seeking, which wears us out, in fact. It makes our mind so tired, keeping identity, trying to promote identity. How much time we promote ourselves? How much time we do this? We promote ourselves on the internet, we promote ourselves on YouTube, we promote ourselves on Twitters, we promote every possible way, and still, we are afraid the world has known me. I'm not being recognized. All the time, that sense of fear. The sense of fear that we have, same thing within our family. Oh, is my partner going to recognize me? He or she going to love me? Or she going to understand? Every day we use so much energy, and a lot of time that energy get very tiring, agitated. When you really look into your life situation, within 1 hour, period of 1 hour, the exhaustion is a lot more than a sense of calmness and relaxation. You're constantly seeking a sense of recognition. Is it good enough? Is it not? Never the mind is in peace. So there's something wrong. Then we need to ask the question, why is this happening? This is happening perhaps if things truly exist, if I truly exist, if if ego truly exists, it should feel very comfortable. It should have no fear. It should be just there. But the sense, that fact, it constantly trying to bring itself out. It's like losing its ground constantly. It's like, the rug is constantly pulled below your feet, constantly. And then always seeking attention, seeking that. And that's what makes us neurotic. That agitation what brings anger. That agitation what brings frustration. No, compassion is way out. Compassion, talk about noble qualities and compassion and wisdom, far away, because all you're doing is busy constantly trying to promote yourself. Constant lot of energy, 24 hours, that ego keeps us busy deep inside. We just cannot breathe. Always, like in our office, in our family, in our workplace, all the time. Instead of that energy used for like sense of goodness, sense of sanity, it makes us more neurotic. So the danger of ego, not just, there's so many blunders in dangerous situations lead us to, and which we can say suffering is the result of that. All kinds of suffering comes from that. Our mental suffering, physical suffering, all levels of suffering, subtle suffering, gross suffering. So therefore, that is clearly a confusion of the mind. We need to recognize that. Until we don't recognize that, we just keep going. no power. It's like you lost this sense of your willpower. You know, it's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like you lost the sense of, you give up, basically. You completely give up yourself and let it run through itself. And that running is the same pattern, keeps going on and on and on. A neurotic pattern constantly generated. And never you will feel like a clarity, never like sense of knowing where is your basic goodness? Where is the removal of that confusion, ignorance, will be basic goodness. There will be basic sanity. But somehow that is lacking because the only way you know how to relate with energy coming into your life is constantly reacting to that, feeding that, the very thing which disturbs your mind, the very thing which agitates you, the very thing which makes you neurotic and losing our sense of coolness, losing our temperament, all the thing. It's that thing. We're feeding that constantly. And that we need to cut through. And how are we going to do that? The question is then, how are we going to cut that? So first thing, now in the practice of meditation, he says, don't suppress the thought, neither run after thoughts. If you suppress the thought, then again it will, anything, if you're told not to do, you want to do it more. And all of us have the little rebels inside, You said, you cannot do, you want to do a little bit. And it's actually, it's exciting. And then, I should do, or maybe it's not exciting, but still, how about do a little bit, But then, of course, there's suppression will finally explode. And then if you just let go without any sense of awareness, then it's the same old world. You're stuck into it. You're constantly spinning in the same old world. Same old habits, the same thing is happening again and again, and you have no peace. Your mind is lost in time. Your mind is lost in duality. And within duality, there is time and space. So constantly it keeps busy. So now in the practice of meditation, it says, do not suppress the thought, nor go after the thought. Let it be natural. I think that's very important, how to discover mind, how to learn about mind. And for that, we need to learn the full mindfulness, practice of full mindfulness, mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the mind, mindfulness of the phenomena, and mindfulness of the feeling or sensation. How to bring that into, how to have some discipline and control, and how to put yourself straight. So first one is to have a mindfulness of the body. The posture of this, sitting in this way, your back straight, and your hand either like this or like this, whichever is comfortable, and not uptight, not kind of pushing down, but completely natural. And then in your home, you should wear some loose clothes, not tight clothes, just to make very relaxed. The environment should be completely conducive. You create the right environment. And then your eyes slightly gazing down, because it settles the mind. Reason is eye gazing down, not penetrating, slightly kind of bringing down. It settles the mind, settling. Stillness of the mind is the first most important thing in meditation. You don't have to worry about having no thoughts. You have plenty of thoughts. Now what you have to bring, a stillness of the mind. You see how the mind is still. Waves are there. You don't have to worry, if I meditate, will I lose my mind? Please don't worry. You've got plenty of material. You are very rich in resources, past thoughts, present thoughts, future thoughts. So what you need to do is a stillness of the mind. That is the most important thing. Calm abiding. The word abiding is stillness. So, therefore, if you have your eyes slightly gazed down, no penetration, slightly gazed down, almost like touching the tip of your nose, gently. And then just breathe. Many methods you can have. Just simply watch your mind in that way, or work with the breathing. So your awareness is with the breath. When you breathe out, breathe in. That's more like there's object meditation, objectless meditation, and in-between meditation. Breathing is in-between meditation, between the object and non-object. Because non-object, there's nothing to think about. Once you get more trained, then there's nothing to think about. It's just your awareness you can hold. And sometimes some people, they're too much wavering and excitement, cannot control the mind. Then to that kind of person, usually, it's also good to have like object they can see, like 2 meters away. Then you put the object, could be a flower, could be Buddha's image or whatever. And then you just focus to that object. And when you focus to the object, obviously you would have a thought suddenly arises, whatever the thought is. Then the object reminds you that your mind is gone, distracted. Then you get back to the object one-pointedly. So keep doing, keep doing, keep doing, keep doing. At some point, the mind will get settled. The mind, that wavering mind, the distracting mind, the energy where you are wasting, that will come. Mind get calm and clear, and then you become a really cool person. Just joking. Half joking. So what happened? Then your mind is calm and clear. Then you can relate to every situation clearly. If many things will be healed because your mind is not disturbed. Mind is clear. Positive qualities of the mind begin to manifest instead of the negative qualities. So that's one way. Then a breathing meditation. You breathe in, you breathe out, your awareness simply there with the breath. The breath reminds you, the breath is the reference point of the practice of meditation, in breathing meditation. So a thought arises. During meditation time, whatever the thought is, good thought, bad thought, doesn't matter. Good thought coming, you shouldn't be excited. Bad thought coming, you shouldn't have fear. Both are equal. If you treat any special thing to either one of these, oh, bad is so bad, then your mind will trip. If you get excited with some good thought, it will also trip. So at the end, it's a trip. Makes no difference. There's a saying, if a black dog bites you or a red dog bites you, the injury is the same. It makes no difference. So same thing, whether some negative thoughts trips you or positive thought trips you, you trip. And it will invite all the different emotions and neuroses. And since we have so much, emotions related with our aggression and anger and jealousy and all those things, it will come. Those will start to play. At the beginning, it looks innocent. Suddenly, it goes out of control, and you're back into that state. So therefore, now you're learning how to cleanse your mind, sort of, in the practice of meditation. So whatever the thought comes, they are all equal. You're simply there, and your mindfulness, without mindfulness, practice meditation will not work. mindfulness not to get distracted, and just trying to be as natural as possible, natural. And then stillness. And at some point, three kinds of experience can arise. The experience of bliss, experience of clarity, experience of emptiness. Experience of bliss, because now your mind is so settled, you experience some tremendous joy in your mind because mind is not disturbed. So you're seeing your inner qualities. These are not something coming from the sky, but you're seeing the inner qualities of the mind. Before we are seeing the disturbance of their mind, agitation of their mind, frustration of their mind, now you're seeing the inner positive qualities of your mind. Joy, because it's not disturbed. Neurosis cannot harm you, therefore there's joy. More compassion. Clarity, then sometimes clarity. When the minds get very settled, then your intuitive powers get very profound. Because now the disturbance, neurosis are settled down. So then clarity, able to read the minds of others to the highest point, or your intuition, you can just know things, how things are happening. Clarity experience. And then emptiness, mind very open, spacious. So now, still, when we experience that kind of emptiness, if we are to ask, did we completely go beyond identity or promotion of our ego? No, not yet. Still there is stillness, attachment. You feel the joy, and that's good. It's part of the practice, part of your experience of your mind. Now you're discovering that, not just a belief, but you're discovering this experience. It's some inherent in your mind. These qualities are inherent qualities. It's not just coming by somebody else, but it's like you're discovering inherent quality of your mind. Then gradually, if one keep meditating, then all the stains of duality finally will, at point, it'll be self-liberation. So I don't want to talk about self-liberation of Dzogchen tonight particularly, but just keep in mind that when you keep doing that, it has to lead to self-liberation because that's the nature of your mind. Neuroses are very facade. All our neurosis is a facade. It doesn't have any inherent quality. It's ready to fall apart. We just keep it going. So now when we focus, then gradually that will dissolve, and your inherent quality of enlightened mind will manifest. And that's how we will overcome duality finally. All this cycle, all this energy, wasted energy, become transformed into enlightened energy, wisdom energy, compassionate energy, and that's all liberation finally. So now we should do a practice of meditation. So please sit in the right posture, make yourself comfortable, and don't run after thoughts, don't suppress the thought. Just sit with the breathing. 5 minutes, you can stand up, and then we will sit back again. question and answer period now. Genevieve?
Hi. The question I have is about awareness. So I know that we practiced when you were away doing the walking meditation and trying to get meditation into everyday life. And I'm just trying to see what am I supposed to be aware of? Am I supposed to focus on a point in front of me and my mind also focused on that point? Or am I supposed to be taking in everything that's around me?
Walking meditation is post-meditation. So you're learning how to engage in post-meditation state. During the practice of meditation is called Samadhi in Sanskrit. Samadhi means your mind is one-pointedly on the spot with the practice of meditation. Now then, the Samadhi usually is supposedly you are aware, your awareness is being in the nature of the come abiding state. It can vary. It can be the Rigpa, primordial awareness, depends on the person, how person understand and relate with the mind. But however, basically, when you're doing sitting practice of meditation, your mind is still there, stillness, and your mind is not wavering. And how do you not waver? It doesn't mean that you need to stop the thoughts of the mind. You cannot stop the thoughts of mind. It doesn't really matter if there is thoughts or no thoughts. If you allow the thoughts naturally, without suppressing the thought, it will do no harm. In fact, that's where you come to understand how to deal with the phenomena in complete harmony. We don't have harmony because we are always fighting against the thought. Either we are trying to suppress the thought, or we get caught up in the thought. So it's like going against the, how do you say, river flow, against the current. It's like going against the current. So therefore, like with the Tai Chi, I'm not expert in Tai Chi, but I was told when you do Tai Chi, you don't fight, you just bring the energy and then let it flow. Probably same thing with any kind of force. If you allow force, then the force will harm you. I also wonder sometimes when we get into a car accident, if we are watching and we see something coming, I think that then the fear and our stiffness probably makes more injury, I think. But if you fall asleep and you hit something, perhaps there could be less injury. I'm not sure, but I wonder because the pressure, it just kind of removes, you go with that. Your body is not resisting. Same thing with the mind. If you resist, it will get even more aggravated. If you allow that, then it frees, the energy gets relief. And so, as far as the mind concerned, it doesn't accumulate neurosis. It doesn't make the mind anger. Nobody says there is no mind. Buddhism never says there is no mind. When we say there is no ego, it doesn't mean there is no mind. The awareness should be there. In fact, how can be omniscient? To have a mind where you are completely closed up, have no sense of awareness, that'll be stupidity. And actually, there's a saying that those who meditate, suppressing their mind, think nothing. In their next life, they'll be born as bear and groundhog. Groundhog meditation. They just remain like that for a long time. And the bear in their caves, also bears just stand up, and So it's kind of like they get into like an absorption state in their mind. So never, if you suppress the mind, that can lead to stupidity. Now, if you allow the mind to go, then you are lost in your past thoughts, in anticipating future thoughts, and the mind is the old pattern of habit we're used to, the three poison traditionally known as the ignorance, the anger, and attachment. And with that, then all the rest of the emotion and conflicting thing arises because mind is not in its stillness. Now, interesting question just came in my mind. You know, many times people think meditation means like completely like stillness, calm, like a passive mind. A lot of people have that idea, a passive mind. I think that is wrong on the long run, to have that understanding of mind. Then it is true in the near situation, because our minds is so agitated, it's like ocean waves. Thoughts are like coming and coming. And so therefore, first thing you need to do, you need to learn how to tame the mind. In other words, tame the mind or settle the mind, doesn't matter. Whichever terminology doesn't matter, as long as you understand what it meant, how to make calm abiding. The Sanskrit word is shamatha, calm abiding. So once you calm the mind, then you see how we don't have just one neurosis. We have anger, we have jealousy, we have envy, we have all the different things. To say that passive mind is the ultimate result of a meditation is completely wrong. In fact, it is that passive, the depth of passive, or what you will discover through the depth. Then if passive will just work, that means there has to be just one particular neurosis. Anger for everyone, that's it. So you calm that down, that will take care of everything. But that's not the case. You have many different kinds of emotions, thoughts arising. So therefore, it's called the 5 passion and 5 wisdom. For example, we have 4 main activities. One is purification. One is increasing. One is charm or magnetizing. One is cutting through. So these 4 different activities, and then there's the central, like mandala, the principle of mandala. The principle of mandala, the center is, which is the center? The center is your mind. Your mind is the center of the mandala. And from you being like the center, which is basic color, traditionally is blue color, like the space. It's like neutral color, space. From there, then on the east is white. On the south is yellow. On the west is red. On the north is green color. Each one of them relates with our emotions. White, purification. Yellow, increasing. Red, magnetizing, seduction. The ultimate seduction, when we use the word seduction, it has a negative connotation too. Because there's ego. That ego makes you try to possess something, you try to bring someone in your territory, and you want to exploit. So therefore, that negative connotation comes. Because what is missing, who is the main player is the ego. Now, the same energy, without the ego, becomes compassion. Compassion is the ultimate, because that mind seeing the true nature, tremendous love and caring comes. And so that is also bringing beings on the path of liberation. So the color is red. Also the color of red. People like red sport car because it attracts. The movie, The Woman in Red. There's a movie. It's like the red color, kind of like attractions. So the energy, it's just like the energy can shift. With the ego, it shifts to a different direction because it's erroneous view of the ego. Without the ego, it becomes compassion, seduction. We can use the word compassion seduction, or we can use neurotic seduction. Doesn't matter. The words are not important, but as long as you understand the meaning, that's the important thing. So this 5 passion is primordial. Doesn't mean when you get enlightened, you need to have passion all the time. Energy in passion is there, but passion without, the French word S-A-N means like without, right? Without the sand, or without that particular neurosis, then the energy is freed energy. It's like even more energy in that, enlightened energy of healing, enlightened energy of increasing, enlightened energy of magnetizing, enlightened energy, cutting all wrong conception on the spot, or negative on the, that is primordial quality of enlightened mind. So it's not, mind is not just something passive. Energy is primordial energy. But right now, our gross thoughts, we cannot really relate with a deeper energy level, because our mind right now is so strongly habituated with relating more on the material level or physical level. Then, like for example, the practice of deity yoga is relating how your inner energy, subtle energy, you're bringing, trying to understand. Because, for example, you know, I used many times in the past, anger, let's say. There is no such thing as instant anger. Yes, we can say, oh, I just got right away anger. We can say that, but actually for anger to build, there is no such thing as anger by itself. For you to get anger, it needs object, it needs subject and object, and many situations to come together. Finally, you develop an emotion, and that's called anger. There are many factors involved with anger, many factors, what makes anger, what makes desire, what makes jealousy, what makes envy. Not just one thing, just brings it just like that. There's no such thing. So you can see it like a step. First it dips on a very subtle level, then it builds its energy, then it's become a physical level. So now, because our mind has that fundamental level, and then its energy, and then its physical aspect. That's where the 3 kayas plays, Dharmakaya, Sambhoga, Nirmanakaya plays its role. We normally don't relate with our subtle energies because we are so much caught into our strong habit. But fundamental energy is there. So therefore, meditation doesn't mean it makes the mind, if the mind is suppressed, if you think nothing, then you are not allowing freedom. You're not allowing liberation. You're not, with liberation comes its spontaneous wisdom qualities. There's nothing wrong. There's one great statement by the great Indian master, Tilopa and Naropa. Tilopa told his student Naropa, he said, "Oh son, you will not be caught by appearance, but you will be caught by clinging to it." So actually, everything is innocent. It's your mind which basically judge and mold things this way and that way, and morning this, afternoon that, evening this, We make so much thing, we make things out of nothing in so many different ways, and we project that, and it bounces back to us. But actually, If you allow things as it is, it has a primordial quality of self-liberation. It does. So when you let the mind be natural, whatever comes, that energy, stagnating energy, the confused energy will be liberated by itself. So, of course, you may not know for the first day, but when you keep doing, that's your nature. You can't escape from being liberation, actually. That's the good news. The bad news is no mindfulness, it will never happen. Then you just go back to your old mindset, and it keeps going on and on. It has its own life, so to speak. Your mindset, your emotion has its own habits. It keeps going. Therefore, sitting practice becomes very important. And therefore, like today, medical science also, if you, for blood pressure, balance, mental joy, balance, how meditation is so important. It's completely scientific in a way. How do you deal mental anxiety, mental stress, mental problem? The answer is in the mind, not on a physical. We try to look mental problem on a physical thing. That will never happen. If you're really suffering so much, let's say a woman, she's wearing 10 carats diamond ring, and then she's suffering, okay, I'm going to lick that diamond ring. It's not going to do anything. You need to find that answer within your mind, how to let go. That the answer is in your mind. Mental problem answer is within the mind. You have the inherent quality to deal with that. And that all quality will naturally come if you do the sitting practice of meditation. Because it's within you. So something like that. You're welcome.
Rinpoche, sometimes when I do sitting practice, say for example, I'm feeling a lot of stress and I go to sit and I have a lot of agitation in my mind and in my body. And I sit for a while and the agitation in my mind calms, but I still feel the agitation in my body. Can you talk a little bit about how to work with that?
Patience. You know why? Because this physical body is byproduct of karma. It's a conditional body. Karma means condition. To go beyond karma, then it's unconditioned. So karma means condition, therefore, and what are those conditions? Our neurosis and action coming together is a byproduct of that karma. So it's imperfect. It's not perfect. It's not wisdom body. That we have transcended a karma, then there will be a wisdom body. But this is not a wisdom body. It's subject to decay. It's subject to pain, subject to old age, birth, old age, suffering, death, the four major suffering of human. So therefore, even your mind gets calm, your body feels sometimes pain. I think the method would be to seek medical methods, or relax. If it's very tight with the cloth, you put, relaxing clothes, kind of diet. Traditionally it's said that if in the Western medication, the idea of wind energy doesn't really exist, which is in the Tibetan medicine. Wind energy is hypertension. So through stethoscope, the doctors do not find no problem, But actually you're going through agitation, you can have pain and back pain and energy and stuff like that. For that, in Tibetan medicine, they have a medicine called the wind medicine. And there's wind medicine 35, wind medicine 20, wind medicine 8, wind medicine 15, like that. The wind medicine number 20 is very good for stiffness. You have physical stiffness here and there. You take the number 20 and next morning it's gone. Really. That's something really amazing thing of the herbal medicine. They have those potentials. And then it also lets your mind relax. It makes you also, if you're not sleeping, it takes you to sleep. And the benefit, since it's made of natural herb, it doesn't have side effect. So if you see some Tibetan doctors, sometimes good to go and check with them. I heard His Holiness Dalai Lama going to San Diego, and with him, his personal physician, Dr. Thamdin, who is one of the chief medical, very, very good doctor, he's also accompanying him. So if anybody, in San Diego, they would get the opportunity to, he see public medication. So like that, it's very, very good. Herbal medicine. So then, you need to take care of your body in the best method from your physician or your trainer or how you take medicine. That's the only way to deal with the body. But sometimes when you do, you can see the power of your mind. When your mind is really stillness, even it will reduce the pain in your body. That's how the mind controls the energy. Therefore, the blood pressure is going down because it's controlling the energy.
Rinpoche, when I meditate, it seems like sometimes that I am so much occupied with thoughts. I'm lost in thoughts, actually. And then it's been a while. And sometimes I be that way for a long time, for an entire meditation session. And in that case, how to really settle my mind? I mean, be free from thoughts. Or you said thoughts are okay, but when they're a little crazy, is there some special technique or?
I think, very good question. I think taking a course of meditation for like a week or 10 days will be very good in a year time. And I hope, in the future when I get a time, I want to do that from morning until evening, everyone meditating for like 10 days or 1 week without talking. No internet, no phone, just sitting. Really big change then. Our meditation is disrupted so much. We do for a short time, then you go out, then you deal with this. So the mind never get a chance to settle down. So doing for a week or 10 days from morning until evening, even for 5 days. In fact, even on a weekend you can do. You in your home, you can start Saturday and Sunday, whole day, without talking, without internet. If you do meditation, then you bring internet, you bring phone, half of your meditation is lost. Because then you are again thinking of all those things. So allow yourself to do something very strict. Doesn't matter if it's pain, if your mind is going crazy, if your mind is having bliss, doesn't matter. Just sit and sit and sit and sit. That's the way to do, how to come to understand the mind. It will have given so many experiences. Sometimes you will feel this, sometimes you... But to have the mind settle down, it requires a week or 10 days, a discipline. Then you will see a big change for the rest. I think if you do 10 days of sitting practice meditation, for the rest of the year, you will find a difference. How your mental state calm, much big, big difference. So that's the way to do it. Our meditation too short. At home people do maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour at the most. Out of 24 hours, if you do 1 hour, 23 hours your mind is busy. So how can you relate to the mind? Once you have make a discipline, even 1 hour makes a huge difference. You do 1 hour meditation, the whole day will be different. Doing nothing and doing something, there's always a difference. And if you, now again, meditation, one has to do with a master who have experienced in meditation. You just cannot go to like a general yoga class to learn meditation. Yoga class is good in physical exercise, but meditation, that master himself or herself has to go through a lot of retreats and practice and experience, then can guide the mind, because the guiding mind is also dangerous. If that master doesn't know well, then it can lead the student on a wrong path. Also, meditation is not, we traditionally, we receive meditation from the master, even the different philosophical teacher, we just don't go to any masters to learn meditation, traditionally. And then traditionally, the way to do meditation is, the student is told, don't bring any book, because you need mind just directly from your own experience to learn. You don't want to read books and have ideas. You see, that obscure, that kind of, not the right thing. You hear, oh, this is what the book says. That is what the book says. That what it says obscures your mind, obscures your fundamental naked mind. You need to see your naked mind. For that, you have to just deal with yourself. So like, for example, 1 year of meditation, or like months of meditation, traditionally in Asia, in ancient time, and today too, the teacher will give like 5 minutes of meditation. The student will meditate for like 3 days or 1 week. Then after 1 week will come and tell his or her experience. And then the teacher will check whether it's the time to change or keep the same level. Then again go and again meditate. That's called the experience through one's own practice of meditation. And something like, for example, Brendan Kennedy, who came here and taught, he did something like that. He lives in Southern California, in the desert, and I think he used to work half time of the year before he was like landscaping like that. Then half time of the year, he lived in the desert, meditating 6 hours a day. So he learned everything from his own experience, which is very powerful. So when you learn from the books, it's okay, but you have to really learn from your own mind. That's how traditionally, how the teaching meditation is taught. Then you can relate with yourself. So, transcendental meditation. There's mostly shamatha meditation. And that's pretty much in some way same. But transcendental meditation also, that those who teaches transcendental meditation has to have themselves do meditation before in order to have some experience. Otherwise, how can they guide someone? Just like reading from a book, it doesn't work. When you learn about cooking, the chef who teaches you he or she has to learn and have a lot of experience. Probably 100 times they cook before they started to teach other people. Otherwise, you don't know when to mix the oil and the onions and everything. It's like my first cooking in my life, I learned. Like now these days in India, you can have cooking oil, which is basically purified. Long time ago, there is this peanut oil, which is never purified. So when I first ever cook, I just put the raw peanut oil and I put the onion, and it's just so bad. I thought, why is that? My mother cooks it so good, and I realized I have not really cooked the peanut. It's a raw peanut oil. So you see, you have to learn from your experience. If you don't learn from your experience, then you can't just open a book and do like that.
You mentioned the 3 or 4 yanas or vehicles, and I used to think of them more like set in stone with tradition, rather than stages that you move between.
Say that again. You did.
I used to think of them as more structured with a tradition, but you were talking about them more as stages. Do you move between them, or how do they relate to each other?
All the teaching of the Buddhas, as it is 84,000 teaching, generally, it's a way of saying, but basically when you break those teaching, it's Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. Vajrayana or Tantra Yana. Then the 4th will be the Dzogchen, Mahasandhi or Mahamudra. Mahasandhi is Dzogchen. Mahamudra is called Chagya Chimpo, Tibetan. In some way, now Mahamudra is from the Kagyu lineage point of view, and Dzogchen is from the Nyingma lineage point of view. There is also difference between these two traditions. Our mind has, we say mind is clear light. Clear light. When we say mind clear light, usually it comprises a space, a fundamental space and fundamental energy. Fundamental space and fundamental energy is like non-dual, is union. That is the enlightened mind. So, but when we kind of like person on the path who have not realized the non-dual state, but on the way to see one's primordial state, then when we look into, we can just we cannot separate, but just for the sake of understanding that mind, we can say, when we see clear light, there's a light. But where does the light come from? The light comes from the space. So the space and the light are inseparable. Like fire and the heat are inseparable. But there is a fire, there's a heat. You put your finger in the fire, it will burn you. But you stay close enough, then it warms you. It has different functions, but same at the same time, one. So when we say mind clear light, there's a space where the light comes from, and there is its function. Or like when you see a mirror, the reflection in the mirror. But what is the nature of the mirror? No one can really see that. Okay, it's not some kind of object. But the activities of that mirror is reflection. So the reflection is coming from the space, but without that mirror we can't even see the reflection of ourselves. So when we say clear light, there's a space which is more subtle, you can say. Like the fire itself is much more, and the heat is more like is secondary, sort of, right? Primary and secondary. But at the same time, fire and heat are one. Sun and sunshine, water and wetness, fire and heat, these are like inseparable, but at the same time, slightly different functions, you can say. So, when one learns the nature of the mind, just I will explain a little bit, and I'm not going to go through a lot, but nature of the mind, Mahamudra state and Dzogchen state. Dzogchen mind, when teacher introduces Dzogchen mind, teacher introduces to the space directly, fundamental space, which is the origin of the mind. While Mahamudra, one introduced the heat, so like the light, sun and sunshine. Mahamudra is like introduction of the sunshine, while Dzogchen is the introduction of the sun itself. There is slightly difference of those two. It's all about finally trying to realize this mind. So now when I say there are stages, yes, those are the different stages. For example, in the Hinayana teaching, it basically speaks about the importance is the physical aspect of disciplines. And of course, there's no self, further it goes, and of course it all finally relates to the mind, but the very much focus on renunciations, physical aspect. Then Mahayana sutras also there's a sense, it has the Mahayana, once one comes to Mahayana, now mind become more important. Since the mind become more important, therefore, for example, in the Hinayana teaching, lying, killing, all these things not allowed. Like those are negative things you need to abandon. Mahayana, now it's more skillful mean. Hinayana is very deadly serious, so to speak. I mean, I'm perhaps sorry to use the word deadly serious, but what I mean is, if somebody just come to this room and a person there's a killer, murderer chasing a person, and the person who is running comes behind your chair and say, please protect me. And you say, and the murderer comes say, have you seen a person? You say, yes, where is it? Right here. The person come and kill the person. Is that a virtue or unvirtue? According to the Hinayana teaching, you cannot lie, so the person completely follows the rules and discipline. But in nature, that's more negative because that person killed that person. If you say, oh, yes, that person went the other side, the appearance is negative, lying, but in reality, you saved that person. So that's how it changes, get more deeper. But Hinayana is very strictly serious. Okay, it's right here. If I say that, then I'm breaking my rules. So not much skillful mean. More compassion, more heart in the Mahayana. Mahayana begins with the heart, so that's why the difference of Maha means great on that. So you're allowed to do 7 aspects of the practice, which is not allowed in the Hinayana teaching. Then the Tantra, when it comes to Tantra, then it's transformation. You do the practice of Mandala Principle, you do the practice of deities, you use your energies. Our speech is energy, by the way, our speech. Thought, speech relates with the energy level. Then physical level. So in Tantra, you use lots of visualizations and lots of energies and transmuting those energy through fundamental understanding. There are 2 practices basically. One is called generating path and one is completion path in the Tantra. Generating path is again dealing with the light. Completion part is dealing with the space. You cannot basically, even in our most confused part, we cannot separate these. We cannot go away from these two. Because where it is your, like right now, let's say all our emotion and thoughts, where it's coming from? From a space, mind space. And that all our anger, jealousy, emotion, all these things are like the display of that, like the wave. Ocean and the ocean wave. Same thing, the space, the mind space, and its display of all this phenomenal existence coming out. And so now in Tantra, and here the space is kind of like neutral, which is called alaya in Sanskrit. It's neutral. Everything is stored in this. Good, bad, emotion, thoughts, everything is like a pond, like a little small lake where everything is stored in our consciousness. Then out of that comes the consciousness of alaya. Then you begin to see this is that. Sixth consciousness, for example, the consciousness of the eye, consciousness of the ear, consciousness of the nose, consciousness of the mouth, consciousness of the body, consciousness of the mind. And each different activity. Doesn't mean we have six consciousness, it's just like different activity. The traditional example is used, a monkey in a glass cage. Person from the east seeing a monkey from the east. Person from the north sees a monkey from the north. Person from the west sees a monkey from the west. Up and down from all six directions. Doesn't mean that there were six monkeys. There's just one monkey, but different manifestation. So then, now from the alaya consciousness, six consciousness, plus then there is seven consciousness, which is which exists in the three world system. Form, formless, and desirium. So, three will. Now I got blank. What I was saying. So from the alaya, then consciousness, then that three world system. Neurosis mind. That's the notion of sense of I. That's the consciousness of the alaya. Now, then begins, as we build up like that, so of course here, then once we build up the ego, then that's what makes samsara. The dualistic game. All our neurosis, the experience of human realm, experience of animal realm, experience of devas realm, experience of demigods, experience of pretas, experience of all kinds of phenomenal experience, all begin to manifest due to all mental, infinite mental creation, projections. We engage into thoughts and actions, that which creates karma, and then we begin to experience this phenomenal world. Gross phenomena and subtle phenomena. Gross phenomena during the day, subtle phenomena, when you go to sleep, even there's nothing, but you see yourself, your family, friends, everything, even there's nothing, but we get caught up. So now in the Tantra Transformation, there's a big difference between Sutra and Tantra. In the Sutra is basically dealing with the present phenomenal emotion. I'm American, you are this, I'm Coloradan, I'm from California, my house is this. That kind of perception one is dealing with. So compassion is also brought based on that. Oh, I want to go and serve the soup kitchen. I want to go and do some cleaning pick up all the dirty and make environmental clean. that kind of human perception level, which is still karmic phenomena. Human is karmic phenomena. You want to work on that level, which is impure phenomena, is karmic phenomena. So then you deal with that. You bring compassion. You try to do your best, good citizen. Responsible, and like that. So then you gradually develop, you purifying your negative habits and negative karmas, and then finally, gradually, you get freed from that stagnated, impure energy. Now, when it comes to Tantra, then you see, there's the generating part and completion part. Never there is nihilism, like nothingness. There's no space at all. So there were a lot of misunderstanding when people hear the word emptiness in the Dharma. They thought it's like nothing, nothing. It's negation. It's never. That is not. Because your mind is clear light. It is never stupid. It's the omnipresent. So therefore, now how do we realize this ego is obscuring that fundamental openness, freedom, the possibility to free all our thoughts and emotion is inherently there, but that is obscured due to that ego. Now, as I said, now ego is based on fear, because ego constantly looking for attention. Ego constantly, fear of losing itself. Constant busy, the only work of ego is always busy promoting itself. And it's not succeeding. So therefore you are really like, sorry to say, pissed out. You're not happy. So, but nevertheless, we are caught up in that dilemma and keeps going on and on. So now in Tantra, you realize there's no ego, but there's fundamental qualities of the four qualities, or five qualities. Instead of the seduction, compassionate energy. Instead of just like the way we wash, the way we take a bath, the way we take a shower, the way we make clean, that purification energy. But again, it becomes small and stagnated, because then again we try to possess that. Moment there's a fundamental energy that which can, without that possession, it can be tremendous benefit. For example, those energies are right now dormant. Right now, many of our qualities are dormant. It's there inherently, but they are not functioning. So it's not helping us when we don't realize that. When we don't use that, it's not helping us. Instead of the compassionate seduction or compassionate magnetizing, it's just ordinary one, and it's, instead of building joy, at the end is bringing suffering. Many things happening like that. So the wisdom quality, what we have, is dormant right now. It's there. It's like dormant. When the sun is covered by a black cloud, the sun is not shining. It doesn't mean it's not there, but it's dormant at that time. The greenhouse are not fed. You have to use a lot of your batteries and electricity, and everything goes up. So we got to work hard to pay bills. But when there's a sunshine naturally coming, then it helps us in so many benefits are there. So therefore, right now, the enlightened qualities, many things are dormant. How do you bring that out? That's the transformation, which is a Tantra, and it requires the initiation, empowerment. Without empowerment, Tantra will never work. Because now it's initiation is most like, it's not that the initiation makes you fundamental goodness. Fundamental goodness seed is within you, but that empowerment is like, putting it and watering it, nurturing it. That's what makes it grow. That's what the potential, fundamental potential within you, but the initiation plays a secondary role to awaken that state, to bring about that goodness. So then once the initiation, then you are told to have, deity. Now what the deity, for example, Avalokeshvara practice, if you get Avalokeshvara empowerment, then you visualize yourself as Avalokeshvara, not as yourself who you think you are right now. Because that will not really work much. It will work a little bit. You can visualize Avalokeshvara in the front and light coming out. It's great, but it's not really, it's still to have the complete compassion within us to come out. The method is to visualize yourself as Avalokeshvara. But then, then we think, oh, I'm not Avalokeshvara, I'm John, I'm Mary, I'm this. That's a very foreign thing. But that's not what it's talking about. Because when you visualize yourself as Avalokeshvara, it requires three things. One is called the clarity, one is called the firm stability, and one is called the fundamental purity. Fundamental purity is very important to understand. And actually we are, in our own ordinary mundane life, we always relate with fundamental purity to some extent. And let me give you an example of that. The early missionaries came and they kind of like said, oh, Buddhist is idol worshipper. You see, I don't think Buddhism is that stupid to worship a piece of metal. But that's the wrong connotation how it was given. Then, if that's how it is, then people, those who follow Christianity, the cross is also idol. What's the difference? No Christian, worship a piece of iron. They worship the spirit of Jesus, which is compassion. Same thing, when Buddhists see a statue of Buddha, they remember the qualities of the Buddha. Not just piece of metal. When you have a picture of your loved ones, you go to vacation and you put it in a really nice place, somewhere, because you hold the spirit, you hold the memory, you cherish the memory. That's what the picture is about. Not otherwise, it's just a piece of paper. So I think we need to really understand that communication is so important, because it's coming from the clear light. Anyone who is against art, I think, is actually wrong. The expression of art is very important, because that's how we communicate in different aspects. And the wonderful, as much as we have problem in this world, but freedom of expression is so important. When freedom of expression is suppressed, I don't think we can learn much, don't think we can grow much in that. So therefore, when you do the transformation practice, you bring yourself into that state. Two parts. One is generating part, and one is completion part. So generating part, that is primordial basic sanity, primordial goodness, that enlightened quality. And it does so many things. You go and heal people, you go and purify, you go and let them realize this and that. And at the same time, its nature is empty. So when the Mandala Principle, some people may have seen how the monks make mandala, like intricate work for weeks, and then one day everything is dissolved. Otherwise, it'll become stagnated. So that principle, same thing in our mind. If you keep thinking, a compassionate being never thinks, oh, now I do this, what credit do I get? It's just the flow of that energy naturally. So it's moving open. So therefore, transformation, just simple understanding, right? Transformation take place on that level. Through the method of deity. Now, deity means fundamental goodness. These are all symbols. They're not literal. They're not literal, they're symbols. For example, 4 hands of Avalokiteshvara is symbols, not literal. When you visualize yourself, it means the infinite compassion, infinite kindness, infinite equanimity, infinite rejoice. That's 4 arms represent. Otherwise, to have 4 arms will look strange, actually. If you build 4 arms, nobody want to have a cup of tea with you. It just has a symbolic meaning, and you're trying to bring that through invoking your primal quality. Then that is through the practice of Tantra Transformation. Then there's the practice of Dzogchen. Now it's called self-liberation. Then it's just the mind. You're not using energies, you're not using this. You're directly watching the mind as it is. That's the introduction to the nature of the mind, and that's how it's practiced that way. Yeah. Good, thank you very much. So let's do a world peace prayer now. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities in merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities in merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities in merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, thus defeat the neurosis, the birth, old age, sickness, and death. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming tonight. It's nice to see all these faces that I haven't seen in a little while. Rinpoche will be teaching, giving a couple of teachings before he leaves. It's a quick trip. He came from India for 2 weeks to teach us, so I'm really grateful for that. Thank you, Rinpoche. He'll be teaching this Saturday, so in 2 days, from 10 to noon and from 2 to 4. And topic to be announced, to be decided. And then so Monday is Dakini Day, so we're going to be doing a soak practice. We're going to do shower blessing soak on Monday evening, and that will start at 6:30. We'll actually set up at 5:30 for that. So anyone want to join us for setup, that would be great. Tuesday, Rinpoche will be joining the book group again, which starts at 6:30, goes from 6:30 to 8. He came just this past Tuesday for book group, and it was really nice to have his interpretation. We're reading Words of My Perfect Teacher right now. And what page? 177 for this coming Tuesday. Probably we'll start there again. Page 177 in Words of My Perfect Teacher for this Tuesday. And then Rinpoche will teach next Thursday again for the 7 to 9 Thursday meditation. And then he'll go back to India.